There's a recurring theme in my experience as a parent. One or both of my children will behave in a manner that seems perfectly reasonable to them, I assume, and yet is absolutely bonkers to me. While I take a beat to figure out how best to respond to that behavior, perhaps calm down a little bit, I realize that I acted in a remarkably similar manner about 30 years ago when I was 8 or 10 or 12 years old. And suddenly I understand my parents' perspective. Sometimes I call them to apologize. I was not an easy kid to parent. I'm sure you can imagine. The same traits that made me a favorite among my teachers, my quick, curious mind, independent initiative, and innate ability to fixate on interesting topics or activities, were a challenge at home, where I felt more confident and was thus more likely to exhibit a know-it-all attitude that had to have been obnoxious, and a tendency to fixate on doing what I wanted to do, which was to read all day, rather than participate in the household work that needed done, but was boring. Much like my kids, I was an absolute delight as a child. But that delight was probably hard for my parents to discern when there were dishes to be done or laundry to be put away, and instead, I was hiding in a closet with a flashlight and a book about sharks. But hey, at least my parents never had to spend 3 days of panic searching for me in a caravan of relatives and family friends and across a major city before finally finding me. So there's that. Our reading today from Luke's Gospel contains one of my favorite stories of Jesus' life, a wacky, precious glimpse of him as a teenager, acting with his own sense of will and purpose, both divine and human, yet limited by his undercooked, youthful brain. He's 12 years old, and he has gone with his parents, siblings, extended family, and friends to visit on their annual pilgrimage to Jerusalem to visit the temple. When it's time to head back home, Jesus isn't ready to leave, so he stays behind. And apparently, it does not occur to him that he should communicate his plans with his family. If you remember what you were like at that age, or if you've spent any time with 12-year-olds, Jesus' behavior in acting before he thinks, pursuing his own goals without sparing a thought or a scrap of empathy for his parents, is remarkably age-appropriate. Luke, for sure, knew a 12-year-old or two. After 3 days, Mary and Joseph find Jesus in the temple, where he has been thoroughly enjoying himself, asking questions and learning from all of the teachers there, and impressing those teachers with his theological precociousness. Mary and Joseph have the audacity to act as parents and ask why in blazes he thought he was doing in sneaking off and giving them the fright of their lives. And Jesus responds that from his perspective, he was behaving in the most rational way, according to his nature. Of course he would be in his Father's house. Duh. The Oxford Bible Commentary suggests that in this narrative, Jesus gives a gentle rebuke to his parents, giving them an opportunity to learn about the primacy of his divine purpose. But I wonder if there might be a bit of good news for us in considering the way this narrative of Jesus' adolescence can give us a more rich understanding of incarnation, God's plan to dwell within humanity, to be with us in every way. In our liturgies, we affirm that God sent Jesus to share our human nature, to be incarnate, the Savior and Redeemer of the world. Through these prayers, we acknowledge and affirm that Christ is with us, that he shares our humanity, and that no part of human experience is beyond the reach of his saving love. During the Christmas season, we celebrate the incarnation of God in the life of Jesus. And this story of Jesus, the teenager, helps us to understand that incarnation is a development that happens over time, rather than a one-time event that can be marked on a timeline, like a milestone achieved. Our theology matters. If we view the story of 12-year-old Jesus with a one-and-done incarnational theology, Jesus appears as a curious and focused child who knows what's really important and teaches his parents an important lesson about the limits of their parental authority. The problem with that, though, is that it leaves Mary and Joseph, and through them all parents, to suffer the terrible joy of loving a child alone. Because that Jesus does not understand the torturous worry his parents endured until they found him safe. That Jesus does not learn what it means to be truly human. Jesus was born, and he learned to walk and to speak and to dress and feed himself, much like any other person. He also learned how to navigate relationships, how to make mistakes, and how to make amends. And Mary treasured all his development in her heart. An incarnation that develops over Jesus' life as he increases in wisdom and in years, in divine and human favor, provides room for Jesus to grow, to begin to experience empathy for his parents, an empathy that he carries throughout the rest of his life and ministry. It provides room for us to develop as well. Sometimes it's really hard to access and maintain empathy because it requires us to try to understand another person's perspective. And we can't do that when we're too exhausted or too deadened by the endless scroll of social media certainty to be curious about one another. Life can be discouraging. On Christmas Eve, we sang, "It Came Upon a Midnight Clear." And I struggled with the verse about the 2,000 years of wrong that have rolled out beneath the angel strain. In the news cycle, the past few weeks have felt like a barrage of summaries of all the awful things that happened over the past year, all the ways that various people grabbed onto whatever scrap of power they could reach and used it to enrich themselves or to make education and healthcare less accessible or to detain and deport 500,000 people. We have added so much to those centuries of wrong. It's tempting to wonder if we are beyond hope. But just as Jesus grew and developed, we are not done growing into the people God created us to be. People called to hope, to curiosity. Where we are and how we feel right now is not the end of the story. If we're struggling with what it means to carry God's love out into the world, that's okay. We can take a breath, hush our noise, and try again. We can, like Mary, treasure all these things in our hearts, we can, like Jesus, increase in wisdom and in years. Thanks be to God.